All right, folks, let's talk about more fucked up bullshit. Serial murders, beatings, and beheadings. Violence against the homeless is increasing, advocates say. The first victim was found lying below the palm trees in the blinking glass towers of Miami's downtown skyline. It was December 21st at around 8 p.m. A police officer was flagged down by a passerby, a man lying unconscious in the sidewalk. He'd been shot in the head. The victim was rushed to the hospital, where he fought for his life, but even before investigators could conduct a hospital bed interview, another call came in. 2 miles north, law enforcement found the body of Jerome Antonio Price. 5 9mm gunshot wounds crawled up the back of his shirt. He was pronounced dead shortly after 10 p.m. Now, I want to be very clear. This story is going to try to paint cops as some sort of hero angle. Like, oh, they're trying to blah, 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 blah. Cops are garbage. Don't fall for that shit. But this is something that we should be knowing about. Officers quickly connected the two incidents, not only because of the short span of time between the two shootings, but because both incidents involved victims that were homeless. Miami Police Interim Chief said in a news conference 2 days later. Investigators chased leads, waving developments into the fact pattern. Ballistics matched the two shootings. Video surveillance near the second incident caught gunfire erupting from a dark Dodge Charger. The car's tag showed it was registered to 25-year-old Willie Suarez Maceo. When the suspect was taken into custody, he was found with a 9mm Glock handgun. The firearm matched the shell casing involved in the shootings. So the first problem with this is, one, guns. Guns are garbage. If you like guns, you're a fucking piece of shit. Now, again, does that mean you shouldn't have guns? Well, we live in a gun country. So if right-winger lunatics and crazy criminal fucking moron wannabe gangster morons, right, and cops and crazy fucking assholes have guns, it's not totally unreasonable to be armed yourself, or at least to know how to use a weapon in case that situation were to ever arise. We live in a gun-obsessed country. Now, again, that's one thing. I think also, if you like guns, like as an abstract from society, right? If you're like, wow, I really love that goddamn rifle, and look at the finish on the, you're a fucking freak. I'm sorry. Guns are weird. They're strange. It's like collecting bombs. It's like collecting like nuclear bombs, or like, like what the fuck do you want? Like, what is the purpose of a gun? To kill things, right? Like, I don't get it. Like if you're playing a video game or something, that's a whole different story. But if you're like one of those weirdos that like, I'm going to collect guns and like, I don't know, it's just weird to me. It's just strange. But again, also we live in a gun-obsessed country, so it's not totally unreasonable for you to learn how to arm yourself, or for you to learn how to fire weapons, or for you to have a weapon yourself. Again, cops have guns. Wannabe gangster losers have guns. Right-wing paramilitary militias have guns. Right? It's not unreasonable for you to also join the club, and that's what the problem is. I think we need a flat ban on guns in the entire world, but I don't know how likely that is to happen. So there you go. According to experts and advocates, the last year has seen a spike in violence against the homeless. There's a beheading in Colorado, a sleeping man lit on fire in the stairwell in a New York City apartment complex, an attack by 4 juveniles and a sleeping woman in Washington State. Beyond those lurid headlines, however, are dozens of daily acts of violence occasioned by increasing collisions between the housed and unhoused populations in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, experts say. I need you to understand. The way that this country can convince poor people to hate other poor people will never cease to amaze me. You live in a shitty, like roach-infested, moldy, mildew, shitty-ass, garbage New York apartment, and the rent is still like fucking $1,800, and the fucking plumbing doesn't work? And you have the audacity to look down on someone sleeping in the stairwell? In my opinion, we have jails in this country. Those are the people that belong in jails. If you think negatively of homeless people, if you're one of those people that like, don't look at the like my mom and dad would tell me, if we were to see a homeless person, don't look. Like if they see a homeless person, like, down the street, they would tell me ahead of time, like they would whisper, don't look at them. Don't talk to them. What the fuck? Is this a goddamn zoo? Like, how can we treat other human beings like that? The fact that people would feel like, oh, I'm frustrated. oh, I'm frustrated with my life. I'm going to take it out on a homeless person because they have no recourse. They have no way to defend themselves. It's the same kind of people that would like have pets and then abuse them. It's the same kind of people that abuse their spouses or their children or something. These are fucked up in the head motherfuckers, okay? But again, I will never understand how this country is able to convince poor people to hate people that are slightly poorer than them instead of the fucking rich. Instead of the rich in this fucking country. Fuck. We do believe there's an increase based on news reports and reports from advocates, said Donald Whitehead, executive director of the National Coalition for the Homeless. For the past 4 years, homelessness numbers have climbed in America, probably because there's a fucking pandemic going on, according to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, a trend that is expected to continue in 2022. Okay, so the government knows that there's going to be a homelessness increase. We're in January of 2022. The government says, yeah, we're going to see more homeless people. Okay, so we have an agency. It's called the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. That exists. It's being funded by tax dollars. They know that there's going to be a homelessness crisis. Are they going to do anything? Of course not. Of course they're not going to do anything. How the fuck are there homeless people in a country where there's empty office buildings, empty hotels, empty condominiums, empty apartments that are just like, you know, traded and wash traded for real estate so that rich people can get richer and have empty houses sit there? People will buy apartment complexes and then rent them out on Airbnb and scrape. You know, like, how the fuck is that possible? And the U.S. Housing and Urban Development knows that this is a problem and is going to do nothing. The response in many communities to this increase has been a criminalization of the homelessness. This creates a culture of people not being important or people being less than. It gives people permission to commit violence. Crime perpetuated by unhoused people against others is certainly also happening on January 16th, blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to bother reading that. Who cares? People experiencing homelessness are also often reluctant to engage with law enforcement even when they are victims of a crime. I need you to understand this, okay? So they may have had bad experiences in the past with police, said Bobby Watts, chief executive of the National Healthcare for Homeless Council. Many of them also have outstanding warrants, not because of major crimes, but because of those citations would be for vagrancy or public urination because they don't have anywhere else to carry out these activities. Do you know, have you ever seen these viral videos of police beating the shit out of homeless people when they sweep homeless encampments? I wonder why homeless people would be a little afraid or reluctant to engage with police when all of their experience with police has been getting beaten, spat on, like illegally, unconstitutionally imprisoned, laughed at, abused, ignored, neglected. I wonder why they would be reluctant to work with or ask for help from the police when 100% of their experiences have been negative. Really makes you think. But advocates are mounting a new effort to try to capture violence against the unhoused. In 2020, the National Coalition of the Homeless released a report looking at 20 years of police reports related to crime targeting people living on the street. The analysis found that between 1999 and 2019, there were 1,852 incidents of violence against homeless individuals. Of those attacks, 515 were fatal. California, Florida, and Texas made up the majority of those attacks over 2 decades. In 2019, the year before the pandemic, the report noted 83 attacks nationwide, with 39 resulting in death. The report noted 97% of lethal attacks were perpetuated by men. That really makes you think. Now, am I saying that women aren't committing crimes? No. But 97% of lethal attacks against homeless people are perpetuated by men. That tells you something about men in this society. I'm just saying. I'm sorry to the boys out there, but that should tell you something. 97% of the time, when somebody murders someone who's homeless for no reason, they're a man. That should tell you something. If that doesn't tell you something, you are singing lullabies to yourself. Let me tell you, okay? Well, 85% of the fatal victims were also men. Now note the delta there. There's like a certain portion of like 12% of men that are going to kill women. I'm just saying, note that. That's something that needs to be understood. No significant statistics have been published since the start of the pandemic, but advocates say they believe crimes against the unsheltered have increased because more people are living on the streets. 2020 was the first time we saw people experiencing unsheltered homelessness exceeding that of those in shelters. So again, you can read the rest of this yourself. But the key points here is how the fuck is a poor person going to discriminate against someone who's slightly poorer? Like, think about it. If you make $20K a year and you can barely afford rent, right, versus someone who doesn't have a job because they don't have any place to stay, because they don't have a job, because they don't have an address to get mail forwarded, or they don't have a job to actually apply for something, because in order to get apartments, you need to actually show income or proof of income, because that's the world that we fucking live in. So even in, let's assume they can't afford a month of rent, they need to have 3 months of rent. They need to have a security deposit to even get a fucking place to stay. And so how the fuck are, so how, like, the idea that someone can criticize or feel like that they're superior to people that are in those positions and not feel that same thing against people that are super rich or even middle class even. Like, I mean, it would make more sense for poor people to beat the shit out of middle class people on the street than it does for them to beat the shit out of homeless people. Like, and I'm not advocating to beat the shit out of middle class people. I'm just saying, like, none of this makes any sense. Anyone that would possibly ever think of doing this is a fucking, I'm going to use this word, a savage, an uncivilized mess of a human being. Not even a human. I would even qualify them as subhuman. Like, it's disgusting. It is animalistic, subhuman garbage for someone to possibly discriminate against people that are homeless. And I'm also, again, the U.S. government, the HUD, said that they expect the homelessness population to increase in 2022. Are they doing anything? No. What the fuck, folks? It's fucked up.